Hello and welcome to the full betting prediction and breakdown for UFC Fight Night Mexico City, Moreno versus Erceg. We've got a good card here, and I want to say first off, shout out to the UFC, no heavyweight fights at elevation. We got 2 middleweight fights on the card. We need to scratch that next time, but other than that, the card's looking decent. Not the most talented fight card you've ever seen, but it looks like there should be some fun fights. I think there's going to be quite a few finishes on this card, simply because elevation and lower level fighters typically equals people gassing out and getting finished. So let's get right into it. First fight on the card, Austin Hubbard versus Markel Medros. I'm going with Markel Medros here, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think it's really close. I think that to beat Austin Hubbard, what it takes is talent. You know what I mean? Like, Michael Figlak, no talent. He beat Roosevelt Roberts by split decision on The Ultimate Fighter, beat Aaron McKenzie. I don't rate either of those wins. In his first run in the UFC, lost to Joe Selecki, lost to Mark Madsen. The other guys he beat, no one's going to know their names. Lost to Vince Pichel. Markel Medros, he had a close fight, interesting fight against Landon Quinones, but I thought he looked good. First UFC fight in nerves, I'm going to factor that in as well, because against Izka Izkov, he looked really good in the grappling, getting back to his feet. Izka Izkov is a legit grappler, and one thing that struck out to me specifically in that fight was his composure on the feet. Scrambled back to the feet, threw a nasty knee, got the finish. So I'm going with Markel Medros, early finish, maybe late first, early second. I just think he picks him apart at range. I don't think Hubbard's going to be able to get him down, and I think Medros, you're just going to see a much more calm, composed striker on the feet. Let's move into Jamal Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda. This is a tough one to predict because Gabriel Miranda is not UFC level, but Jamal Emmers can't grapple. So we've got this weird juxtaposition where it's like, if Gabriel Miranda gets him to the ground, he is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and I could see him choking out. And you watch back that Pat Sabatini fight, Jamal Emmers hurts him, sort of fumbles the finish, and gets heel hooked. I don't love that going against Gabriel Miranda. And you look at Gabriel Miranda against Morgan Shire, he did get him down one time, wasn't able to establish any dominant position, but honestly, I don't love Emmers' takedown defense. I think he's a little bit wild on the feet and tends to overswing. He does that particularly against strikers, but when you look at his wins, like Dennis Bazooka, not a great win, lost to Jack Jenkins, but that was a close fight, stand-up fight, looked good. This is a tough one. Split decision to Giga Chikadze looks good. Lost to Julian Erosa, but we know that you have to be trash to lose or to beat Julian Erosa. That's the only way it can be done. So I'm going to go with Jamal Emmers here. I just don't like Gabriel Miranda's chin. I don't like his stand-up. If he gets to the ground, if he's able to get to the back position or pass guard and get to mount, I do think he will finish the fight there. But I'm going with Jamal Emmers. Late rounds, TKO, maybe 30-27 decision. Looks pretty dominant. A little bit sloppy at the end. Maybe he gets taken down in the third round and there's some danger, so it ends up being a 29-28. But I'm going with Jamal Emmers here pretty comfortably. For the next fight on the card, we've got Rafa Garcia versus Vince from Hell Pichel. Let's be real, guys. Vince Pichel is 42 years old. I mean, he last fought in May 2024, so it hasn't been that long since he fought, but that's his only fight in the last 3 years, basically. Last fight before that was against Mark Madsen in 2022. So he doesn't, and again, yeah, he beat Jim Miller, beat Joaquim Silva. These are decent wins, but, you know, we're looking at a 42-year-old versus Rafa Garcia, who is technically solid. Like, he's not bad. He's a good boxer, has power in his hands, and he trains in Mexico. I'm assuming if he's like somewhat intelligent, he's been doing his training camp at elevation. I like the win over Natan Levy, took his O. I like the win over Maya Shet. I like the win over Clay Guida, looked really good. Had a close fight with Drakkar Klose. I mean, got brutalized by Grant Dawson, but Grant Dawson's really good. Like, he might be the best pure wrestler at lightweight. So I think that Rafa Garcia goes out there and gets the first round TKO against Vince Pichel. Again, I'm just not putting my money on a 42-year-old who has one fight in the last 3 years, and he lost it to Ishmael Bonfim. Like, just not something I can do. And then if it's close, and this is going to be a theme a lot on this card, it's going to Rafa Garcia. Like, let's not play with ourselves here. Let's not joke. Like, the crowd's going to be going crazy every single shot he lands. Vince Pichel's not going to have any backing, and who would the UFC want to promote? Do they want to promote a 42-year-old Vince Pichel who fights once every year at best? No, I don't think so. So they're going with, I'm going with Rafa Garcia by unanimous decision, probably 30-27, maybe 29-28. For the next fight on the card, we've got Julia Pilastri versus Lupita Godinez. Julia Pilastri hasn't shown much so far in her UFC career, whereas Lupita Godinez, she hasn't looked bad. You look at her losses, lost to Mackenzie Dern, lost to Verna Jandiroba, but she didn't get finished in either of those fights. And Verna Jandiroba has been finishing people with the grappling. So I don't think that Julia Pilastri is going to be able to get her down and control her. She is a good grappler, but just MMA math here, looking at what Verna Jandiroba has done versus what Julia Pilastri has done. Had a close fight with Corey McKenna. I thought she lost, but, women's MMA, they'll give the decision to the control time. Lost to Josephine Knudsen. Like, honestly, I just think Lupita Godinez is going to outskill her everywhere. And I could honestly see a finish here. Maybe like a club and sub, or just battering her on the feet and she doesn't go down, but she's not swinging back type thing. So I'm going with Lupita Godinez by, let's go third round TKO, maybe third round like guillotine. She drops or jumps on the guillotine or something like that. That's my prediction for this fight. Now, this next fight is really interesting. One second. Because Christian Rodriguez versus Malik Wazel Costa is as much of a coin flip as I think we have on this card. Now, you could just go with Malik Wazel Costa by virtue of not being undefeated. Because we know Christian Rodriguez is beating any undefeated prospect you put in front of him. Doesn't matter how good or bad they are, he's going to take them out. But one thing I'm really looking at here is C-Rod's fight with Julian Erosa. A longer, rangier fighter seemed to really give him trouble. And where C-Rod does his best work is when he has a physicality advantage. Even against Austin Bashi, who is a real featherweight, C-Rod seemed to have a little bit of a physicality advantage. His size and reach wasn't too much shorter. Whereas Malik Wazel Costa, former lightweight, 5'10", as opposed to Christian Rodriguez being 5'7". And I'm going to be honest. If Christian Rodriguez wants to win this fight, I think he has to ragdoll and submit Malik Wazel Costa, and I just don't see that happening. Like, you look at Malik Wazel Costa's last fight, he was piecing Philly up on the feet. Philly threw himself into a guillotine. Lost. He did lose to Thiago Moises, but that was up at lightweight. Like, that's a tough fight for him. He's not a lightweight. He really is a featherweight. That was a short notice opportunity to get into the UFC. I think that Malik Wazel Costa has really good grappling. I think that he's dangerous on the feet. I think that he's got power in his shots, snap at the end of those right hands. So I'm leaning more towards Malik Wazel Costa. Christian Rodriguez is a fun fighter. He's a really fun grappler. He's got really exciting scrambles, can control, uses a lot of leg rides and drags and stuff like that to control. He's sort of a new generation grappler, but Against Julian Erosa, he just threw himself into a guillotine. And that level of fight IQ, it makes me pause. Whereas I think Malik Wazell Costa, I believe he trains with Charles Oliveira out of Shoot Box. Yeah, he trains with a really good gym, is still young, only 28 years old, probably improving. His record's not the best, but I think snap and power on the feet, that's what's going to get it done in this fight. For the next fight on the card, we have Abeta Gaitar versus Jose Medina. I'm going to be honest with y'all. Jose Medina's not UFC level. Got into the UFC because he took a short notice opportunity. Let's be real, guys. He's not in great shape. He doesn't hit hard. He's not big for the division. Whereas Abeta Gaitar is massive individual, 81 inches of reach, 6'4", 22 years old, and has a ton of finishing potential. Didn't look great in the grappling against Yura Naito, but he's 22 years old. I'm predicting that he's going to make leaps and bounds of improvement. Probably got a little money from this UFC Contender Series fight. Definitely is going to put that back into training, going to have more time for recovery, going to be able to work out more. Maybe he was working a job before this. We don't know, but I think that Abeta Gaitar is going to go out there and he's going to starch Jose Medina in the first round. I mean, Jose Medina appears to have a good chin. He got outskilled and outdone by Zachary Reese, which as time goes by, that is a less and less impressive loss. Magomed Gatsalov beat him, and Magomed Gatsalov isn't that great either. I mean, it's just like, I really don't think he has the tools, and no disrespect here, I just don't think he has the tools to be a UFC middleweight. I don't think he has the physicality. I don't think he has the finishing potential. Now, I could see Abeta Gaitar going out there and whooping him for a round and a half, dropping him, and then just totally gassing out at elevation, and Jose Medina gets a submission or something. I could see that happening, but am I willing to bet on it? Absolutely not. I'm betting on the guy with, what, 4 first-round finishes, 1 second-round finish? Yeah, I'm going to bet on him. 22 years old. Tons of fast twitch muscle fiber, super explosive. We're going with Abeta Gaitar by first round KO. For the next fight on this card, we're going to go with Edgar Chairez over CJ Vergara pretty easily. And I really rate Edgar Chairez. He's a sick fighter, is always down to scrap, beat Daniel Lacerda twice, had a totally cinched in Darce in the first fight, and the ref stopped it for whatever reason. I mean, Lacerda was going to tap, and he didn't. So, you know, it is what it is. Came back and triangle choked him in the second fight. Had a really close fight with Joshua Van. Had a really good fight with Tatsuro Taira. I mean, he had Tatsuro Taira in trouble in that third round. People forget, man. But Joshua Van, he had Joshua Van hurt, got grappled and controlled. I don't think that CJ Vergara is going to be able to take down and control Chairez, and Chairez is big for the division. So is Vergara, but I think Chairez hits a little harder. I think he's got a much better overall skill set. He's explosive. He's got good striking. So I'm going with Edgar Chairez, probably by finish. Late rounds, could be a 30-27 decision. I think he absolutely dominates this fight. For the next fight on the card, we have Ronaldo Rodriguez versus Kevin Bojas. Ronaldo Rodriguez is literally insane. He's a crazy person. Look at his smile. Tell me he's not insane. So I'm going with Ronaldo Rodriguez to win this fight over can't say that nickname. Kevin Bojas. He is not shown anything. Lost to Joshua Van. Had a good first round, but we know Joshua Van's a slow starter. And then lost to Alessandro Costa. Just got beaten up in that fight. So I'm going to go with Ronaldo Rodriguez via grappling. I think he gets him down. I think he takes his back, and I think he chokes him out. Ronaldo Rodriguez is a big name. Even if this fight goes to decision, they're probably going to lean towards Ronaldo Rodriguez. And he didn't look the greatest against Ode Osborne. Choked out Dennis Bondar. So he's only had 2 UFC fights to this point, but he's only 25. I'm predicting him to make big improvements, momentum, got a little money. I'm sure he got paid for fighting on the Sphere. Like, I think Ronaldo Rodriguez could make some noise in the division. I don't see him going on a title run, but I do see him maybe reaching the top 15, having some fun fights. He's a scrapper. You know the dude's willing to go to war. And so is Kevin Borjas. Let's not hold bro. And he is probably fighting for his UFC contract on this fight, but I think the skill difference, the difference in the grappling, when a flyweight gets taken down and controlled, I really don't like that because most of them don't. So I'm going to predict Ronaldo Rodriguez to take Kevin Borjas down, take his back, and choke him out probably second or third round. For the next fight on the card, we have David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira. David Martinez making his UFC debut. Simon Oliveira, this is a bantamweight fight. Simon Oliveira doesn't do it for me. I'm not going to lie to y'all. David Martinez had a good scrap on the Contender Series. Close fight, but he looked really good, really technical. Simon Oliveira also looked pretty good on the Contender Series, but since that fight, he lost to Tony Gravely, got finished by Daniel Marcos, which Daniel Marcos is very good. I'm not going to fault him, but he's been out for 2 years now, almost, over 2 years. I don't love the inactivity, going in there and fighting a dangerous guy, a guy who's going to come out and swing heavy at you. He's going to go out there and do his thing, fighting in Mexico for his UFC debut. The emotions are going to be flowing. The crowd's going to be going crazy every time he lands a shot. And he has good finishing potential. I mean, on the regional scene, he was finishing guys left and right. Seems to have good cardio, was going into the 4th round, had a lot of title fights on the regional scene. So I imagine this 3-round fight at elevation. David Martinez hopefully has been training in Mexico City. He trains out of Bone Breakers MMA. I'm not exactly sure where that is in Mexico, but hopefully he did this camp at elevation. Yeah, it's in Mexico City. So he trains out of Mexico City. So I'm going to go with David Martinez here. I think he gets the finish over Simon Oliveira. I just haven't been too impressed with his UFC run so far. He's a bit soft to the body. Good grappler, but do I think he's going to be able to take Martinez down and submit him? No. We're going to go with David Martinez. Second round finish, probably like combinations up against the fence, rocks him to the head, takes the body shots low, gets the finish there. For the next fight on the card, we have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. This is very clearly a setup fight for Raul Rosas Jr. Lost to C-Rod. That is what it is. C-Rod missed weight for that fight. Other than that, he's looked pretty good. Had a tough fight with Alora Gilang. Was put in some bad positions by Ricky Tercios, but, he's got power. Knocked down Terrence Mitchell with a big shot. Beat Ricky Tercios in the grappling after getting put in almost a rear naked choke. And that's the thing. Is he going to beat Ricky Tercios on the ground? Is Vince Morales going to beat Raul Rosas on the ground? I really don't think so. He's a good grappler. And is he going to be able to finish him on the feet? No. I mean, Vince Morales is a grappler, had a close fight with Elijah Smith, who I do rate. I think Elijah Smith is good. But I just think Raul Rosas is better. I'm going to pick him by 29-28 decision. Maybe Vince Morales wins the 3rd round, or maybe he has a really good 1st round. But I'm predicting Raul Rosas Jr. to go out there, get this one done, hype up the crowd, chewees, this, that, and the 3rd. So let's move into the feature fight on the card. Joe Pyfer versus Kelvin Gastelum. I'm going with Joe Pyfer. Let's be real. This is Joe Pyfer by whatever he wants. Kelvin Gastelum is 19-9 at this point, and he just doesn't take his career seriously. Can I say that? I mean, got ragdolled and submitted by Sean Brady at 170. I mean, Sean Brady is really good, but, Kelvin Gastelum's supposed to be like an anti-grappler, a boxer, this, that, and the third. Joe Pyfer trains with Sean Brady, so this team has already done an entire camp for Kelvin Gastelum, and Joe Pyfer cracks, dude. And he's got really good grappling. He beat Gerald Meerschaert in a grappling match. I rate that. I think Meerschaert is a good grappler. Obviously trains with Brady. You're in the room with a really good grappler, maybe the best grappler, pure grappler, not wrestler, but jiu-jitsu on the ground in the 170-pound division. I think, Joe Pyfer got slammed and injured by Dustin Stoltzfus, fluke, and then he lost to Jack Hermanson. Kelvin Gastelum, at this point, is not on the same level of that Jack Hermanson. He's not a middleweight. He's going to be giving up so much size and reach in this fight. I think that Joe Pyfer finishes Kelvin Gastelum by whichever way he chooses. If he chooses to stand and bang on the feet, then I think he's going to stand and bang on the feet. If he chooses to take him down and submit him, I think he takes him down and submits him. Seems to have a really good arm triangle. I don't think I've ever seen him take the back, but I just imagine Joe Pyfer's elbows from mount or from half guard even are going to be very deadly. So we're going with Joe Pyfer pretty comfortably here. Sorry, I had to drink my water. For the next fight on the card, the co-main event, we've got Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. And I've been going back and forth on this one all week. Listen, Manuel Torres is a berserker. We know he's going to go out there and run forward and sprint at you for the first round. He fights a bit like Khamzat Chimaev if Khamzat Chimaev was a striker. Like, he just sprints. He sprints for the first 5 minutes. And I really don't like that at elevation in a 3-round fight. I mean, he's going to have such a physicality advantage against anyone in the lightweight division. Like, he's 5'11", somewhere between 5'11 and 6'1", super strong, jacked, hits so hard. He's 5'10". Okay, he looks a little taller than that, but still, he's gonna have a size advantage on Drew Dober, who's only 5'8", gonna have some reach, and man, Drew Dober's 36. Got finished in his last fight, lost to Moicano before that. I mean, looking at Drew Dober's run, he's beaten some names, but has he beaten anyone with the physicality levels of Manuel Torres? No. But that being said, should Drew Dober survive the first round, Manuel Torres will be absolutely gassed. So my prediction for this fight is, do not put any bets on it. If you want to put some money on Manuel Torres, first round TKO or submission, I wouldn't be mad at that. But what I think you should do is I think you should wait. And if Manuel Torres finishes him in the first round, then you go out there and then you're good. But the second round starts, take your money and put it on Drew Dober. Because Manuel Torres, I'm telling you right now, I don't care what he trains at, it doesn't matter. He goes out there and he sprints at all of his opponents. If this fight reaches the second round at elevation, he is going to be gasping for air. Drew Dober's got good enough boxing and enough power, also trains at elevation, to where I think that he's going to be able to go out there and finish Manuel Torres in the second or the third. But if I had to make a prediction for this fight, I'd pick Manuel Torres by first round TKO. I'm not going to lie to you. So I wouldn't bet on Drew Dober, but if the live odds are crazy and Manuel Torres has just ragdolled and beaten up Drew Dober for 5 minutes, I think that you really should put some money on Drew Dober, and I'll definitely be doing it if it gets there. For the final fight on the card, we've got Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. This is an interesting fight. It's tough to judge Steve Erceg because he's looked really good against Pantoja. I thought he beat Pantoja, but super close fight. And then he goes out there and gets finished by Kai Kara France. But Kai Kara France does have really big power for flyweight, has that sort of winging style to where Erceg likes to long guard and frame out. And what Kai Kara France did, he threw the right hand, stepped through on the left hand, and cracked Erceg bad. And that was just the beginning of the end. Erceg was out of it from there, and the following sequence was just Kai Kara France eventually getting the finish. Do I think Brandon Moreno has that power? No. Brandon Moreno has a really good jab, but he's going to be giving up size and reach here. I guess he's not. No way. I think these stats are wrong. I think Erceg's going to be bigger and taller than him here. It says Erceg's only 5'8". I think Erceg's more like 5'9". And I think Brandon Moreno, it says he's 5'7". I think he's more like 5'6". Erceg is so technical on the outside. And he's shown he has cardio for 5. We've never seen it at elevation, but he's walked into enemy territory before, looked really good against Pantoja. I'm going to pick Erceg to spoil the night. I think that he's going to look really good in the boxing. I don't think that Moreno's going to be able to out-scramble him. I think that Erceg could take this fight to the ground if that's what he chooses to do. I'm going with Steve Erceg here by unanimous decision. And honestly, Brandon Moreno looked really good against Amir Albazi, but Amir Albazi is not a good fighter. Like, Amir Albazi doesn't have a single good win. He did not beat Kai Kara France. He lost to Kai Kara France. It's tough. Brandon Moreno looked really rough against Brandon Royval in his last fight in Mexico City. Brandon Royval sort of styled on him, skilled on him. I mean, man. I got to go Steve Erceg, man. I think Steve Erceg's more technical on the outside. I think that he cracks a little bit harder. I think that Brandon Moreno's going to try to push a pace, and I think Erceg is a smart enough and cerebral enough fighter to where he won't engage in a firefight with Brandon Moreno. I think that he's going to be coming out here, coming off a loss, taking a lot of time off. I think this is going to be the best Steve Erceg we've ever seen, and I think you're going to see Steve Erceg back in the title picture after this fight. One thing I got to say before we close is the UFC, the Artem Vadakov situation. I'm not going to make a whole video out of this, but why did they not sign Artem Vadakov? Just wanted to get that out there. I'm frustrated about it. Super cool talent that they missed out on. I don't think he would have been like a top 10 light heavyweight, but he could have. So UFC, make better decisions. Don't put middleweights on a card in Mexico City. But other than that, decent card. Hopefully I do good on picks, and I'll talk to y'all on the next one. Peace.